All right, I'm your host, Tyler Narducci, and welcome back to another episode of the Profit Playbook podcast, where we talk about all things agency growth. Guys, if you find any value in this show at all, please show us some love by dropping a like and consider subscribing to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Today, I have with me Victoria Hajjar. Victoria is the founder of Ugli Ventures, which specializes in assisting startups as they scale from 6 to 7 figures. Victoria focuses on aiding female entrepreneurs in optimizing sales and marketing strategies, team building, and leadership development to establish sustainable, profitable 7 figure enterprises. Less than 2% of women have broken the $1 million mark in their business, and Victoria is on a mission to change that. With a proven track record of success, she has cultivated global brands across various sectors, including the US, UK, China, Sri Lanka, UAE, and Mexico. Victoria, that is an impressive resume you have there. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the show today.
Tyler, I'm so excited to be here and to help agency owners optimize and systemize their approach to marketing. We're gonna have a good conversation.
We definitely are. I was telling you before the show started that I'm super excited to just have you on here because A, we don't have enough women on the show. We need more women on the show. And B, you specialize in helping women entrepreneurs. So it's like a twofer, which is even better. And I do want to jump back because what just totally punched me in the gut when I was reading through your bio is the name of your company, which is Ugli Ventures. Please do explain why you named your brand Ugli Ventures.
Oh, ugly. Well, it's ugly with an I. So ugly ventures. Yeah, business can be ugly sometimes, especially when it comes to sales and marketing. And through the years, like through my own experience, kind of like pushing and pulling to get my marketing up to chops, which was really challenging, right? But I find that marketing and sales is the biggest friction point. I mean, as you know, in the work that you do for most entrepreneurs of any kind. And what I truly believe, or what I've discovered, is it's through the systems and the frameworks that actually turn all of that into beauty, right? It makes your business more beautiful because it relieves that stress for you. It makes you enjoy what you're doing much more. And so when I first discovered just like simple frameworks around business and around marketing and sales, it was like for me being hit over the head because I was like, oh wow, there's like an instruction book of actual things that work instead of just trial by fire and figuring it out, which many of us do for many years. And that's why there's people like us that are so passionate about helping show people the way, to just ways to kind of systemize how they're doing work, right? So all of that effort can be measured and iterated and improved upon. Because without that, it can be kind of a shit show.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it. So business is ugly, systems and processes make it beautiful.
absolutely. Because in once you have some proven frameworks to kind of work from, then you are kind of doing everything against like a proven like system that has worked before, which is great. But again, when you implement those systems and those processes, the real beauty, the real magic comes from doing it, putting it into place, and then improving upon it and seeing how it works for you, right? And I know in the work that you do, right, in the processes that you implement for agencies, it's that, yeah, you have, you can probably put, mount these kind of systems with your eyes closed. But the real kind of juice comes from, how do we tailor that for this specific client and this specific brand? How are we putting the brand spin on everything that's going on? That's what makes those processes, I think, more special and actually produce and convert more in the end. So we want to kind of master the basics, right, of these systems and processes, but then put our own flavor and spin on them. That's when the real magic happens, as I said.
I love it 100%. So, our topic today is what the top 10% of marketing agencies are doing that separates them from the rest. So, I'm just going to dive in with that as our first question because I think that's a perfect opener. So, Victoria, what are the top 10% of marketing agencies doing that the other 90% are not?
Well, I have to say, I've had the pleasure of working in some pretty incredible organizations with some very impressive founders. And when, I'm working in a company, I've worked with founders that have built unicorn companies. So we're talking 8-figure, 9-figure companies I've been working with founders. We've had $1 million months. And the team that they assemble, right? And the way that they work with agency partners, I have found to be completely different than agencies and sort of consultants and freelancers that maybe are on the lower end of the spectrum. And the one major difference that I have seen, right? And in my work, I've been a fractional chief marketing officer. So I've been inside the team, sort of hiring these agencies and managing these agencies. And the top tier agencies, they do two things really well. First is niching down, getting really, really specific on serving one type of client. And the reason is as a marketer, right? When I'm taxed with finding building my team and finding the people to execute, if I'm choosing between an agency that it specializes in advertising for SaaS companies or advertising for anyone, and I'm a SaaS company, I'm going to go with the one that specializes in SaaS company. Now, the thing that we get stuck with as marketers, and I fall victim to this as well, is that the actions, right? The actual things you're executing, it doesn't change so much. If you're running ads for a SaaS company or you're running ads for a hotel, the actions that you do are going to be pretty similar, right? Like how you set up the account, how you find your audiences. Yeah, the audiences are going to be slightly different, but there's so much on the back end that's the same. And so the mistake is that as the marketers, we think that it's pretty much the same because, yeah, you can probably really be doing wonderfully running ads for either of those companies because you have the skill. But on the client side, right, they don't really understand. Everyone thinks that their business is unique, that their vertical is very special and different. And so if we can commit to really narrowing down on a niche and really communicating to a target client that fits within that, we're going to be able to convert at a much higher rate. Because what we want when people come into our world, they come to our website, they come to our social, we want them to land on our profile page or our homepage and say to themselves, this is for me. And a really great example I love to use is CRMs, right? CRMs, is essentially the same thing. Like you gather, CRM, like you get the email address, you can email them, maybe some pipeline stuff you can do, but it's like functionality wise, it's always the same. But if you talk to like the dentist needs like the CRM for dentists. The realtor needs the CRM for realtors. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
And why do we do that, right? We do that because we think that there's some special thing that's going to be just tailor made to our business, but essentially the function is the same on the back end, but our clients, they don't realize that. So niching down, talking really specific to one audience, it's going to help with your prospecting. It's going to help with your conversions. On the execution side, okay, to go back to the top 10%, because the founders that are at the top of their game also very much appreciate bringing in folks with specific expertise. Because if you can communicate and go to that prospect and sort of dive deep in saying, okay, I can set up the ads and I can do really well with any vertical. But what they want is to understand how much do you know of the whole industry. So if you're really focused on SaaS companies and you spend your extra time reading Fast Company and understanding what trends are going on in SaaS, while it may not affect so much your execution, what it's really going to help on is your sales. Because when you're sort of showcasing your vertical knowledge and you could have those conversations about competitors and all of these things, it just showcases even more deeply to the prospect, to your clients, that you get them, you know them, and whatever your service is, this is for them. Now, on the operations side, the top 10% of agencies that I've worked with are really not working in a silo. So a lot of agencies, and I've worked on the agency side before, and I understand that agencies, they have to kind of work within their own efficiencies. But one big mistake that I see a lot of agencies making, and this tends to come from the founder because the founder is not kind of implementing this, but the founder sort of has their social media manager or whomever maybe they're working with, like next to them, maybe in their office. They talk separately with that person. Then maybe they have the agency that's running SEO and doing ads, and they have like a Thursday conversation with them, but then that other person is not in it, right? Or they have got someone designing some web pages for them and the agency's not doing it. So, and the founder is kind of the focal point, right? Is the communication center between all of these disparate marketing things. Because oftentimes it's very rare nowadays that agency takes care of everything for the marketing. I think the
Right.
more common scenario is that people hire out agency for specific things. Maybe to build a new website, that's a great agency project, or to manage the ads. Many people feel very uncomfortable with just random freelancers, or they don't often bring ads management in house. So ads is
Hmm.
something that goes. But what tends to happen is that, and this is a common scenario that I see all the time, the social media manager and the ads person actually is never met.
Yeah.
And what's the problem there is that when you're losing so many opportunities, because if your social organic, your strategic organic content is built and that feedback loop is created in such a way that your ads manager is understanding what's popping off on organic social, what has
Hmm.
gone viral, whatever. That's really great content to be seeding into the ads, right? But
Yeah.
with that separation, if that conversation's not happening, there's so many opportunities that are missed. So the top 10 agencies that I've worked with implant themselves into the weekly marketing meeting, right? It's not about, oh, you just meet with me once a month and they are in the meeting. And also agency has this opportunity to act sort of as a guide, because oftentimes the agency, depending on the size of the company, may be the one that carries the most knowledge. And
Yeah.
you could be actually helping the whole marketing funnel, the whole flywheel churn much better than the individual founder can, right?
Right.
If you're working
And if
with
you're
a
chiming in on these things, you are increasing your opportunity for possibly getting hired onto those additional
100%.
projects.
Let me give you a good example. So, ads, right? When we're talking in this silo, we just got the ads performance, and the ads are looking at impressions, cost per click, cost per leads, cost per acquisition. And it's all kind of, yeah, organized very nicely in this sort of in this silo, so to speak.
Hmm.
But the ads performance is directly correlated with the website performance. Like, how are your landing pages converting? How is your website? Like, what's your add to cart rate? What do those abandoned cart email flows look like? If your ads have a 7-day attribution, right? In those 7 days after they click that ad, all of the stuff that happens has nothing to do with the ads. It has to do with your email program, it has to do with your website, how you're actually getting the purchase completed. But by the way, the CPA is the responsibility of the ads manager. They're the one that's reporting on it. So
Right.
here's the opportunity. If you're embedded into that funnel, now some agencies feel like, oh, I don't want to give them too much time, blah, blah, blah. They're only paying me for this one thing. I'm only going to give this one thing. But if you come with the knowledge of saying, hey, do you know what a CRO does? You can say this to the founder. You can be like, hey, my agency specializes in full funnel optimization. Because when people land on the ads, I'm controlling what the ads do, but after they leave the ad, everything's out of my control. But there's so many levers that you can pull. Why don't we do an analysis? And you could be getting projects like landing page optimization. You could be doing email flows, right? Because maybe they have their email person's not strong enough. Maybe they need stronger sales focused emails for abandoned cart. So that's all of that business. And the problem is when the founder comes to you, the business owner comes to you, they don't really know what they need. They know that they need ads, but we know as marketers all of the other things. We understand the flywheel. They may not fully understand it. So that's where all of this opens up and you can capture it. And you just have to be, again, just like we want to do in our content strategies, even we want to be adding value, but in those meetings and when we're face to face with clients, we want to be adding value to the whole of their business. And that's why we'll be the ones that they call to when something is needed. And I want to add one more thing. Sorry, because I'm super passionate about this. But oftentimes from the like whether you're working with a marketing director or a founder or a business owner directly, oftentimes like we don't know all that you're capable of. So I had this happen with one client where we had the ads manager, and then we determined that we needed to get a CRO like upgrade. We needed to get someone to do a full analysis, like what I was just talking of, the website performance and all of the conversions. And we redid the product description pages and the homepage, right? But the founder found someone else, hired out. We had no idea that the ads manager actually was very well versed in all of that, the full funnel optimization. We had no idea. The ads manager had been working with this client for like 6 years, and it's never come up in conversation. Like that one particular guy never like piped up during the meetings, never said, hey, we could think about upgrading the site. I have great experience doing that. It wasn't until like a later conversation after the project was done that this guy actually is super well versed in it. So the point being is that don't expect that your clients are like trolling your website page to know what your full services are, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you gave a lot there, and I think there's a ton of value. Everything you said was spot on. The two that really jumped out for me was the top 10% of agencies know who they're targeting, and they find their niche, and they drill down into that. A question I wanted to ask you on top of that was there's kind of two ways to niche, right? There's niching for the type of client that you're serving, and there's also niching in the services that you
Yeah.
provide.
Yes.
Now, I mean, there's a ton of different marketing services that you can provide. Should you provide all of them? Probably not, but you definitely full funnel optimization. There's still a ton more beyond full funnel optimization, right? Like copywriting and website building and all types of stuff, right? So, do you recommend that they both niche into, who they're serving and then also what they're doing,
Yeah.
or just who they're serving?
I think like the more niche that you can get, the better.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
reason is that like people just say like, yes, that's what I need. So this happens a lot with like, I'll give you a good example because this personally turns me off. So I see PR agencies a lot, like trying to do all of it, right? They're like, we'll run your PR, do your blogs, we'll do your social, whatever. And like my immediate first thought is like, there's no way that you are going to be good at all of those things because they're not related enough.
Not
But
even close. Yeah.
I think that if
PR is
you
notorious for that, by the way. You're
right, if
spot
you
on.
just want
PR
to capture
agencies,
and capture, right? Now, if I was a PR agency that was doing traditional PR and I wanted to focus on affiliate or partnerships or influencers, that makes ton of sense because that's all like in the same kind of
the
little box,
networking
right?
and promo bubble. Yeah.
It also takes like the same skill. So when I'm hiring agencies, that's what I really look out for. I understand that there are two sides to marketing, right? There's like the left brain and the right brain. And another humongous problem that I see that agencies do is they try to market themselves as both the right and the left. We're going to be your creative brand developer. We're like the most creative people ever. Oh, yeah. And we're like super duper data driven. I've
Yeah.
worked inside agencies, and let me tell you, even if you have both of those people with those skills, as the founder of the agency, the leader of the agency, you usually represent like one of those sides and you need to lean into whichever side comes more naturally and what's more enjoyable to you. So that's number one. I think you have to determine whether you're the creative driven agency, right? That's the brand driven agency, or you're the data and the results, the growth driven strategy
And
agency.
just as a sidebar on that,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. Creative branding and PPC, like results, performance agencies and branding agencies are very different beasts. Combining them, it can be a lot. It can be done, but it's a lot of work. It's trying to be pretty much everything.
Everything.
From my experience, the performance agencies have a lot easier go at it because they have hard numbers to prove month after month for their value and why they should be there. The branding agencies are needed, and they can be so beneficial to a company, but they have a much harder time in proving their their worth, essentially,
Mhm.
because likes, views, shares, engagement, all that is great, but you have to be able to eventually tie that string over to dollars. And so I find that branding agencies have that challenge. And I think that's why you have branding agencies trying to tack on things like ads and things like other performance pieces so that they can say, okay, yeah, well, we increase sales, by XYZ, because those, you know, I've met a lot of founders that will hire a branding agency and then put the expectations of a performance agency on them. And it's
Mhm.
like you can't expect you can't expect that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The branding side can really help the performance marketing when you like what you said before, when they talk to each other and they work together.
Mhm.
But if you're just a branding agency and you're not running, conversion campaigns, it can be difficult to tie that string together and prove your worth as a branding agency, which is why I feel a lot of branding agencies are much better suited to like big companies with like these big marketing budgets that like this is set aside for branding and we're not expecting to see a hard ROI from these numbers. Like McDonald's, you know what I mean? Coca-Cola, they spend a good example of this is Twitter or X ads, right?
Yeah.
I've worked with performance agencies for many, many years. And from my own experience, I've never seen Twitter ads work like
Mhm.
conversion wise. Like
Mhm.
they just don't. Like they've never worked. And now they work even less
Yeah.
because people are leaving the platform, right? But a lot of companies, like the people who advertise on Twitter was the McDonald's, the Coca-Colas, the big brands, because they have branding budgets.
Yep.
Budgets just set aside for views and pretty metrics. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Whereas smaller companies, startups, mid-sized companies even, they don't have those branding dollars to throw away. They can maybe put a percentage of their performance budget on branding to help increase the performance of the PPC campaigns,
Mhm. Mhm.
but just, have thousands of dollars for branding is difficult for a lot of mid-sized businesses. So that's just something to I know that was like a little bit distracting on our
No, I
original
love
point,
what you
but
said,
it's
but
just
I want to tack on one thing, and I think that you make a super important point because we're talking about niching down, and I think that for the branding agencies that I've worked with, like personally on projects that are doing very well, those branding agencies, they are very clear on who they serve. And yes, I
yeah.
think there's a part of that of like what is the size of the company that's important. That's one aspect. You can work with those bigger companies, but I've seen a ton of DTC. Like DTC is really, really compelling um, for branding agencies to focus on because it's like they know direct to consumer products know how important the brand is. Even if it's small, even
Yeah.
if it's a small company and you're like a soap company, you know that your branding has to be really cool and compelling to stand out in the on the shelf or like
But you
especially
also as DTC, you like need the performance side though.
you need it.
Like you you can't if you're a DTC, you can't just have branding. You have to have the performance side. And then I think because once they already have that, now they see the value in branding because like I said before, it boosts the performance thing that they already have going on. Then they see the need
Exactly.
for it. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
So,
I
I
was
mean,
just saying earlier that
yeah,
they can't go one without that one.
absolutely. But here's the other thing I wanted to add to that. And this is so great because obviously both things you need. I was actually writing this last night. I'm in the process of writing a book, by the way. I'll tell you about it when it's done. But
Oh,
I was
love it.
writing this
That
chapter.
entrepreneurial urge to write a book.
Yes.
I have the same.
Oh,
I have
I'll,
the
I'll
same.
hold you accountable. Let's do it this summer. Okay, but I was
Cool.
writing about this in one of the chapters, which is like the need for both of these sides because I think that as agencies, right, obviously we're so like stressed out to show the ROI. That's why we are oftentimes need all these performance metrics and all that stuff. However, a company needs both sides, right? We need a strong and compelling brand. And the problem is that when we try to split our agency to do both things, we're splitting it like 50% brand, 50% performance. But what I truly believe is that a business really to succeed needs 100% of both those things. You need 100% brand and you need 100%. And in order to do that, that means it could mean that you hire an agency that's more performance focused. I think that there's a lot of value in having strong brand stewards like inside your business. So either you as the founder being very brand focused, or some people on your team very brand focused, or you could hire another agency that does more like, maybe that's more the PR side, more the community building, whatever. But both of those things are important. And the reason why I say that, and I don't know if you've seen this, but like if we look at this phenomenon of, I think a lot of businesses right now on the cusp of failure, and this is kind of a bummer topic, but we've seen such a huge boom, especially in like product based businesses from the pandemic. And like a lot of businesses were birthed out of like viral TikTok profiles, for example, like people that just went viral, their account blew up and they decided to make a product. And what
Pink
I
sauce.
right, exactly. So what I really
Yeah.
think has happened here is that, you know, it was so easy in 2020, 2021, 2022 to get that attention on social, for accounts to go viral, for posts to go viral. Ads were freaking cheap, right? In relatively speaking. But what happened is a lot of these brands that emerged, maybe they weren't, they tend to say, oh, hey, I'm getting this attention. Let me start running ads. Ads are cheap, money in, money out. We can grow on ads. And a lot of businesses have grown with positive ROAS, and they just kept feeding the beast. Meanwhile, haven't set up nurture campaigns, haven't been very strategic about their content, haven't been like really nurturing of that brand loyalty. And so what has happened, or what I'm seeing so many people on the cusp of going out of business, is that they say like, hey, we've been chasing this CPA to try to get it down at any cost for like a year. We've not invested in any of these other brand stuff and any of these nurture kind of value stuff. And we're just paying for all of our customers. And that's why things are getting so expensive, and it's not able to be maintained. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like you had said originally, like really stewarding a brand like seriously and really creating that brand loyalty, it goes hand in hand with the performance. It brings the cost of everything down, and we cannot dismiss it, because
No.
paying for the performance and just focusing solely on the performance is a short-sighted view, because ads are always just going to get more expensive
Right,
forever,
right.
you
Basically,
know?
you're saying you might have got away with being weak on the branding side and being all performance a few years ago, but
Yeah,
now you need a healthier balance in order to
absolutely.
maintain and succeed. And the ones that are continuing to succeed are the ones who didn't really neglect branding all along, even when you didn't need it as badly back then.
Yeah.
Had you started fully branding when you were doing your performance back in the pandemic, by now you have built up your mountain, right? I think that's another thing a lot of people get wrong about this is like it's so daunting. Like I actually on my email newsletter that I sent this morning, it's very funny because the topic literally was how a personal brand can boost your agency and boost your
Oh,
agency
yes,
sales. And
yes.
so I think that a personal brand, if the founder is willing to step into that face, for especially for smaller and startup agencies, if you're willing to step into that face of your agency, that personal brand, and marry that with your agency, it's like a huge hack. I've
Oh,
personally, I know this for personal experiences. I've been the personal brand for my own agency since I started in 2015, and it's been a huge help.
mhm,
I mean, my own name has so much more authority than my agency's name. It always has,
mhm,
and I'm okay with that. So all of our branding and everything is about me, and I know that can be daunting to some newer agency owners, but all you have to do is just start. You know what I mean? And in my experience, branding using a personal brand instead of pushing your agency brand is easier, quicker, and grows faster if you're willing to do it. Because at the end of the day, people buy from people. People want to have that personal connection. Unless you're McDonald's, Nike, or Coca-Cola, where you don't need a face of those companies, like the brand sells itself because they're so big. When you're smaller, a hack to grow much faster is to put a name, a face, and a voice and a consistent voice on it. And so I think for those smaller agencies, branding can sound kind of daunting, but if you're willing to step up, be the face, and kind of be that voice, you'll gain so much more authority and respect in your niche and be able to grow quickly. One of the things that I put in that email was just start a Facebook group, right?
mm,
Like you're paying for all these leads. Like you have the performance side, you're paying for all these agency leads, but 99% of them are not going to buy from you right away. They need a nurture process. They need to see you several times. They need to be hit with your emails. They need to be hit like you said, that 7-day attribution window. Oftentimes that 7-day attribution window can go for months. In fact,
mm,
years. We just closed recently a client that had been circling our CRM for 4 years,
Yeah.
listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
getting my emails, seeing our social posts for
Yeah. I
years,
believe
and
it.
they finally closed. But had we not really started the branding side, just performance and just keeping the agency name, never putting Tyler Narducci's face on there, then I believe that we probably wouldn't have that sale, because I wouldn't have been able to make that connection for further, because I talk to my sales closers on a regular basis, and a lot of people purchase because of the name and the face that I put on the brand. And so
Mhm.
that's not just for me, but that's for all agencies out there. I think that they can really, even freelancers, even if you don't want to go full on agency, if you just put your face on there, I think it can really, really boost up the branding for the entire process, and kind of make the branding side a little bit easier for
To
a
just
performance
follow. Well,
agency.
I love that you're saying that. And as you're talking, it's just, the reality is, when before I started working as a fractional CMO and sort of launched my business, um, I started with an agency model, and so I started running an agency. And what I can say is, like, and over all of these years, what I've learned is that, marketing, sales, like business, there's a lot of ways to kind of slice the pie. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And what people are essentially choosing you, right, over others is because of the transformation. But oftentimes it's like, well, what is your methodology? What is your process? What's your framework that you work people through? And that
Yeah.
is the anchor for a lot of this personal brand. That being the anchor is really, really useful, because if you, as the face, are always talking about whatever your proprietary process is, or the frameworks that you use, or that one problem that you solve, people are going to be, again, hit again and again and again, and saying, like, oh, when we need, there's like a really great example. There's one person on LinkedIn, Lachey Lewis. She does such a good job. I don't know her personally, but I get her content all the time. And this girl is like, I don't know her. I never met her. I never even been to her website, but I know that she is all about bottom of the funnel. Every single time
Yeah.
I see something from her, it's BOF, bottom of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. She has whole methodology about how to convert people at that bottom of the funnel. That's all she talks about. And like, I know that if I'm ever at the point where I'm like, I need some help with bottom of the funnel, she's the first person I'm gonna look to. And
Yeah.
I never even went to her website yet, because I don't
It's
need
like
it now.
super effective
So
personal branding. Super
so
effective.
and
Yeah.
it's free, by the way. She's just
Yeah.
supposed to be
And
nice.
like you made like the first, and when you just and talked about her, you said her name. You didn't say her company. You said her
I
name.
don't even know what her company's called.
Right.
And yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's not a bad thing. It was an intentional design for her marketing, and it
yeah.
works. You know what I mean? Like it there's people that are not up to that and don't want that, and that is totally fine. But for the people that are listening that are willing to do that,
Yeah.
I've found that it is a much faster and more effective way to connect with your audience on a deeper level, and win those win more contracts overall. But just to circle back
Yeah,
to
go
our
ahead.
our
We
our
can
uh,
talk
our
forever.
topic today, which is
Marketers
the
talk about
top
marketing, let
10%.
me tell you. Yeah, tell me.
Yes. So the top 10% of agencies, what I heard you say was, are niching down in both who they're targeting and what they're providing. And they're also constantly looking for more opportunities, and not just sitting back on their heels and delivering the service and hoping for a good grade on the test. They're looking at the other areas of the funnel that they're working on, whether they're branding and you're more on the social media side, or whether you're performance and you're more on the paid ad side. Both of the There's a lot of bells and whistles in between that you may have the capacity to step up, help with, and offer more services, get hired on, and expand your contracts with your existing customers, and find new ways to connect with your future prospects on how to tie all of your services together. I think
Mhm.
it was very, very good example of, just kind of being a go-getter. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't just hope that your clients are going to, hey, can you help me with this too? Hey, can you help me with this too? Like, some of them will, but you need to constantly look for opportunities on how to expand your uh you know your contracts, your good clients. You've already, especially with those clients that are already paying you, they know, love, and trust you, you're doing a good job. The easiest thing you can possibly do is upsell them into something else that you have proficiency in. So I think those are huge for the top 10%.
And I want to just lean into that, what the opportunity is, because maybe a lot of agency folks don't have this perspective that I've been able to kind of glean over the years. If you're working with like startups, small businesses, right? What I have found as like being inside of businesses for all different types of businesses is that, founders and even marketing directors, right? Um, Oftentimes they don't feel they may not know that much about marketing, right? If they're in a smaller business, like a marketing director could be just like a glorified social media manager, by the way, right? Depending on who you're dealing with. And there's such like a
Definitely.
hunger for founders, for marketing folks to learn. They want to learn. Don't assume that they know as much about marketing as you do. And you have a huge opportunity to be educating these teams that you join, right? And again, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to put together a full funnel. They don't know all of this jargon. They don't know the depth of marketing that we do because we listen to podcasts about marketing and we live it every day. But
Yeah.
especially if we're working directly with business owners, right? There's like huge chance that they don't feel comfortable with marketing and they don't know that much about marketing, but because of the revenue level of their business, they can't afford to bring on a marketing director or
Right.
a CMO or even fractionally, right? So
Yeah.
they're forced to run it all themselves. That's a huge passion of mine. That is like what a lot of my work is focused on now is educating founders and help kind of bringing them through a process so they can run their marketing department efficiently, and kind of really learning how to be the marketing lead that their business needs if they can't afford to bring on a marketing director. But a huge pain point, a huge friction point with agencies and freelancers and contractors or whatever is oftentimes because like you're not speaking even the same language. Like you're hired by this founder to do the marketing and they're telling you what they think they need and they may not know, right? So again, being in those marketing meetings, even going as far to tell the founder, hey, we need to bring everyone together. I've never heard an agency say that. But if you do, you'd be really setting yourself apart. Because as I said,
Yeah.
most founders work in complete silos. They're having 12 different conversations a week with all the different people doing little things in their marketing. So if
Hmm.
you took the initiative to say, hey, it's really important that I have just my finger on the pulse of everything that's going on in your business. Holy crap. No agency would ever say that. Because most agencies, again, want to sit on their heels, do the minimum because they just want to get more clients. But again, we know the conversion rates. You know all about sales conversion rate. How much easier is it to convert someone that already knows, likes, and trusts you, right? To
Phenomenally.
upgrade someone
Huge.
versus getting a
Yeah.
prospect.
That's the low hanging fruit that everyone forgets about is your
Exactly.
current clients already. And then after that, it's your BOF, your bottom
Yeah.
of funnel, those
Yeah.
people that are already super,
Yeah.
super warm, like we were talking about
Exactly.
before.
Yeah.
I think you also gave a hack without even meaning to, by the way. You talked about there's a lot of opportunity with smaller or medium-sized business owners that cannot afford that full-time marketing director. And I think what a lot of agency owners need to recognize is that is your value. It's so huge. That's literally your value proposition is you come in as the agency with a team, whether whether it's you alone with multiple skill sets or whether you have a small team of you have an ads guy and a social media guy and whoever, but you come in and you have all of these experts, whether they're white label or paid directly, it doesn't matter, but you come in as all these experts for less than the cost in many cases of a full-time marketing director
Yeah.
with much stronger expertise in multiple categories. Whereas that marketing director, who the business can't afford anyway, is really only going to be probably the good at, like what you said, like good at social media or
Mhm.
good at
Yeah.
strategy, but no implementation, right? One person can never be expected to be really great at all at both performance and branding marketing and everything that comes in between, right? So that marketing director is always going to be handicapped even if the business can afford it. But oftentimes the business can afford it, so they partnering with an agency, but that's your value proposition. you cost less and you bring more expertise in more categories than that marketing director ever would. So either you pitch it like that and that's your value proposition to be hired on in general, or if the budget is even lower and they can't afford your full marketing packages, you can come in as a consultant,
Mhm.
which is like what you're doing. I think that was kind of the hack you uncovered there,
Yeah.
is you come in as a consultant to the business owner, assuming that you are good at strategy. You can't just be a performance marketer that's good at
Yeah.
ads. You can't come in as a consultant then. But if you're good at overarching strategy, which a lot of freelancers and agency owners are, you can come in with a downsell. Maybe they can afford your full service marketing package. Well, then let me come in as a consultant and teach you how to run your own marketing. It's a huge downsell. It's a big opportunity. And it's packaged right along with your entire value proposition, which is we cost less and we bring more expertise as the agency.
Yeah. And by the way, in that also has your content strategy, because I want everyone to hear me when I say marketers, business owners, they are hungry to learn and understand. So if in your content strategy, the value that you bring is really teaching those founders, those business owners, and even the current marketers, right? If whatever your expertise is, whatever your niche is, really teaching them like how to be proficient, how to increase performance, all this stuff, because you have to understand they don't normally have you know the hands really to execute to the level, because marketing, again, we can go so in depth with SEO, with social, whatever. Every one of these tactics goes so deep, and if you are focused on the handful of things that kind of work together within marketing, you really position yourself, give that value, teach those folks like what is, again, a huge question to answer is like, what does success look like? So many of the founders, and even marketers that I educate, right, to help up level them, they want to understand what are the benchmarks. I'm hiring these
Mm-hmm.
people. I don't know if they're doing a good job. One of the things that I'm brought in a lot to do is basically founders are like, I've been working with this team for like 6 years. I don't know if it's good. Is it good? Is my CPA like good? They don't know.
They have
Really,
no clue.
they don't really know.
They have no clue. Yeah.
So
That's also, I've talked about that before. That's also a big danger pitfall for agency owners. You have to define what good is in the very beginning. Otherwise, your good may not be their good. And when
yeah,
you're like, hey, we got all these
yeah,
great KPIs, they're like, oh, but I thought it was supposed to be lower. And so I'm not happy. You have, when you partner up with a new client, you have to define what
yeah.
good
What
is
does
clearly,
success
because
look
like you
like?
said, they have no idea.
And a lot of times, and another huge mistake is that, because hey, listen, I'm the one that I help founders like create scorecards, right, and put KPIs. But I don't think people understand listening that like they don't oftentimes know what the hell they're doing. They
Right.
don't know. So you have to go, like it's tremendous if you have the experience to say, okay, based on how much your product costs, based on what I'm seeing now, here is the cost per lead, the cost per impression. These are the things that we're going after. Or based on the, my enhanced strategy, this is the kind of production we'll see in social, or implementing this. We need to deliver to them, again, expectations, what the results should be. Because oftentimes you've got a founder or even a marketing director oftentimes doesn't know how to do this. Talking with the financial officer, kind of forecasting and trying to put the pieces together, and then creating some KPIs that like are so disassociated with the person that's actually executing. It needs to be a collaborative effort to say, okay, you're an expert in your field because you know all about ads or all about social. You know what those conversion rates are or what the follower growth should be on average or whatever. Help us together to set what those expectations are, to know what success looks like. Because then you can run the risk of those numbers being way off from what's possible. You put together your strategy, you don't set any KPIs yourself, someone else puts that on you. And then you're kind of working to reach those KPIs at a scorecard, which is like just maybe doesn't have any basis in reality. So that's why you taking into your own hands is really beneficial. Does that make sense?
Huge.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I know this is an amazing episode because when I barely get through like the
The question.
questions that I planned because
Yeah.
we're both like side tangenting
So
on so many different
excited.
things.
Yeah.
I love, yeah, no, it's great. It's always a good sign. My best episodes are like that because it's just like, we are hitting on really important topics for agency owners. So I think there's just a ton of value here. So I'm excited. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about at least AI, because obviously
Yeah.
it's everywhere right now. It's huge, and it's growing fast, and it's changing the landscape of everything. So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk to you a little bit about it. So how do you think AI will shape the future of our industry, marketing, particularly for agencies and their clients who are often smaller businesses with limited resources?
Okay. Well, the first and most obvious thing that is not that exciting to talk about, but it helps us go faster, right?
Hmm.
It helps us absolutely go faster. Like I can say that, in the past year and a half, like the velocity, because the game, I mean, in terms of content strategy, let's talk about content strategy. Like the game is absolutely now, it used to be like quantity versus quality. Like we can see dances on TikTok and all that stuff. The old sort of way of thinking was that you just got to keep churning out, right? Always be front of
Right.
mind, churning out content constantly, right? Now we've reached this kind of tipping point, and like thanks to Gary Vee, we have this language, but this TikTokification of all of social media, where we are sort of being delivered uh, content to us, the algorithm serving things based on interest rather than based on who you follow, right? So what does that mean? So now all of this random content is being thrown at us, and we're reaching an age where quality trumps everything, because
Yeah.
quality is going to stop the scroll. So now we kind of want to shift away from AI just producing crap, just producing it all for us and us not really refining it much, to
Yep.
saying, okay, how can AI help us go faster in creating the email sequences, creating the post copy, whatever. But then we really, as teams, need to dedicate time to making that 100 times better than what AI gives us. AI
Yes.
can get us started, but like again, we also need to think like algorithms are only getting more and more sophisticated to know what is copy paste from AI. So
Yeah.
I can talk on let's talk on like LinkedIn, because that's like one that I'm personally invested in. Um
Oh,
and
dude,
what
please change my mind. I honestly, so like I was fully on the LinkedIn train, and I've been, and I know there's so much value there, and we've worked with a lot of clients on LinkedIn, but it is like my least favorite social media
is
network anymore. It is just, yes, because
what
it's
is your
just
favorite?
so
What's
much
your favorite?
spam. Right now, it's Threads. I
Really?
actually love Threads. Yeah,
Okay.
I love Threads. I'm obsessed with Threads. I bet I'm on it like every single day, pretty much posting like numerous times a day. And this has been like, I use Buffer for
Yeah,
social media scheduling, and
yeah.
Buffer literally just yesterday got scheduling. So everything that's come out of my Threads has been in real time, off the dome,
Uh-huh.
like, and it's been like nice to like have that. Plus there's no ads,
Yeah.
not a single ad, which is like
Yeah. Right.
nowhere else has that. Yeah, it's coming, I know. But I've been just be able to refine that, and it's been working really well, and growing, faster than I've seen other more established social networks grow. The reason that I'm struggling with LinkedIn is because it is just so spammy. Like the
Mhm.
inboxes, people are just blowing up your inbox, and they're just going in right for the kill. And it's like, gosh, like, I don't know how many people are still left, and maybe you can change my opinion
Yeah.
on this. I don't know how many people are still left that are genuinely looking through their LinkedIn inboxes, and genuinely not looking through a lens of like, okay, just another cold pitch, cold pitch, cold pitch, cold pitch. I mean, it might be just my inbox, but like, I feel like a lot of people are just getting so overwhelmed with
I
cold
have a lot
pitches
to say.
that like,
I have a lot to say. So
okay,
here's
go
what
ahead.
ultimately, here's like a fact. Social, it works if you work it. So in
Yeah.
order for you to work it, you have to genuinely like it. So let's go
Hmm.
back to the topic of personal brand for agency owners. Step one is you have to lean into whatever platform you naturally like. Because let me tell you, I really despise Instagram. I'm probably the only
Yeah.
one on
I'm
earth.
not the biggest Instagram fan either.
I just don't like it. Like, listen, if I'm going on
It's
to
very
Instagram,
grindy.
It
It's
is,
very
but it's almost
grindy.
like,
Like it's a
listen,
lot of work to grow it.
it's so much work. But for me personally, I go on Instagram. It's like, give me a recipe, give me a cute outfit,
Yeah.
buy, right?
Yeah.
That's just me. I know that Instagram works fantastically well for so many brands and so many people, and people genuinely
Performance
love it.
Instagram is like top of the chart.
Unbelievable.
For paid ads, amazing. Yes.
But let me tell you, anytime that I, like it, as Ugly Ventures, tried to really lean into Instagram myself, I always fell flat because I hate it. Like I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't like producing the reels. I love LinkedIn. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you
What
the
do you love
difference.
about LinkedIn? Change my mind about LinkedIn.
So in yes, the spammy emails come. And by the way, that's
Yeah.
a huge fault of AI. As a total sidebar, I have so many B2B clients that, have over the years gotten so excited about, we're gonna scrape data and we're just gonna blast everyone with an AI message. And like that has really ruined in LinkedIn,
Yeah.
to be honest. Okay. But if you can kind
The
of,
other platforms have figured out how to limit it more.
yes. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't know if LinkedIn just wants to allow it more. Like they have to be aware of it. But I
Yeah.
also find the posts on LinkedIn to be a lot more just like ChatGPT publish or
It
what
is
we I
so
love there's tons
frustrating.
of TikToks that make fun of LinkedIn posts that are like I just fired my first employee. Here's what that taught me about life. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that is not something to put, like be so proud of like and
I
then there's
know.
all these memes made about it. It was hilarious. But like that kind of stuff is what I'm like god, it's so LinkedIn. But okay, sorry, go ahead.
And I think it's like any of these platforms, okay, you have to like it. But then the next thing is it's like, where are you putting in the time to build community?
Right.
Because that's the difference. Like for me,
Right.
I spend the majority of my time, and I think this is like a good hack for anyone, especially for women, right? So for any female agency owners, like I spend a lot of my time inside circle communities for female entrepreneurs, right? And those I have really good conversations. I answer questions. I make posts that like add value or whatever. That's a place where I seed relationships and I get clients from, like going to
Okay.
those in person events. And again, so find your people. Like
Yep.
you can, if you're a SaaS company, you serve SaaS companies, find the SaaS people. If you service hospitality, find the hospitality people, but find your people on and offline and connect there. And then whichever social platform you choose, find your people there. So here's another thing. It's like if you're going to use a platform for business, you need to be posting thing that's going to attract your ideal client. That content has to add value to your ideal client. And you can do it in a way that sparks like genuine conversation and genuine connections. Like I have great conversations in the LinkedIn comments and I have DMs and I connect with people that I'm on podcasts with or whatever. So I develop fruitful relationships on LinkedIn. There's tons of people that do that on Instagram. Now me, I
Hmm.
only get, Russian bot accounts trying to tell me stuff
Yeah.
on Instagram because I'm not putting the time into the platform.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
being genuinely social on the platform. So all of these can work for you if you work it. That's the overarching.
I actually love that you said that because I've said that so many times, but not just about social media, but about everything. Usually I'm speaking about how to grow your agency and what things work because everyone's so distracted on the shiny objects like, oh, cold email doesn't work. Oh, paid ads don't
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
They
social
love
media
that.
doesn't work. And I always say what you say. Everything works if
Yeah,
you work it.
if you
And
work.
and like there's yeah, 100%. You're
Yeah,
spot on.
yeah. So
So I mean
there
I
was
go
another
ahead.
question in there I didn't answer. I think we got sidetracked. You had said, okay, we talked about threads, we talked about spammers, the personal brand. Oh, I
And we
thought.
were talking about mostly about AI and how AI you said AI speeds everything up.
Okay.
And now it's about quality over quantity, which I totally agree with.
Okay, but the other thing for AI, I think, is like so speeding things up, and then of course, like taking that speed, like instead of just speeding and churning things out fast, dedicating more time to quality. That is it. So your hooks, so much more important now than ever before. The first 2 seconds of a video, like really with a fine tooth comb, perfecting. And of course, AI can help us get there. But another good example is like AI, all of these tools that are cutting the video into little pieces. Oftentimes, what they spew out is kind of crappy. right? And that with the human touch, it's like, oh no, this is much more compelling for first 2 seconds, right? So it's that human touch. But the second really important thing with AI that we need to all start leveraging more, actually haven't seen it being used really a lot, but I think it's going to be much more popular. Is just for data analysis. Like you can like
Huge.
customer insights, customer behavior, predictive behaviors, like um, connecting the AI tools with your CRM and being able to really like again, if we have our cohort of like we have our segmented list and then we churn it through an AI platform and it tells us all about behavioral insights. So okay, this guy's clicked into they've clicked through to your email x amount of times within this past quarter, so they're more maybe hot to trot, so we can send them on separate drip campaigns. Like getting deeper again, it's like marketing is like the depth that we can go within each of these areas of focus, but AI is going to help us get there
Yeah.
without much human labor. Like if we look at email programs, like yes, you can extract insights for like who's more active or whatever, like in terms of open rates or whatever, but to be able to really do a cross section between which individual is clicking through, which individual is opening, which individual has higher intent, AI will be able to take all of that and spew it out very quickly. Ad performance, right? Using AI to give suggestions on how to improve ads, like all of the sort of aggregation of data and gleaning the insights from data, where even for people that are very good at it, could be very labor intensive. So we can use
Yeah.
AI for a lot of that stuff. And I see like technologies coming out. Like I always hear, every day I feel like new companies are launching. But what I would say to that in the short term is that technology doesn't replace your marketer, right? It doesn't replace like your ads manager, right? But
No,
again,
it makes them better.
makes them go better and help them go faster. So, my copywriters use AI to create first drafts, and to improve hooks or whatever. So it's like, it's never going to replace my copywriter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with
Yeah.
ads. So helps us go faster. And I think, yeah, on all fronts, that's really what the value is there.
It helps us go faster, helps us create content, and helps us with data analysis. All really, really good points. And I think just the one point I want to ring home on the content part is an easy do and don't. Do train the AI on your own already, like what you do
Mm,
already,
yeah,
right? Feed that AI. So for example, if you want AI to help you write new social media posts, feed it 100 of your best posts that you made yourself already and say, hey, ChatGPT,
oh, that's a
this is me. This is what I do. This is who I market to. This is who I target. And these are my 100 top performing posts. Make me 10 more in my own voice, uh, just like that. And then it will give you 10 more. Then take those 10 and then edit it to make it even better.
yeah,
That's the do.
yeah,
The don't is, hey, ChatGPT, I target plumbers. Make 5 posts for plumbers.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the don't.
yeah,
That's the garbage that you're going to see. But
yeah,
if you train it on your own creative work that you've created and that's done well for you, then that gives it that personalization, so it can start pumping out content that is in your own voice. And
yeah,
then you need to proofread. You have to edit it. You have to make sure that it actually
yeah,
is something that you want to say, and put your spin on it. Don't just copy paste, even after you've trained it.
yeah,
Edit it, make it more yours. I think once you get that part down, then the model can really assist you in creating more content. Now that same kind of step process can be done for blog posts, social media posts, email newsletters, you name it. That same kind of process works, but you need to train it on what you already are doing that is working well. We are like almost out of time here. We've flown through this episode, but I do have one final question that I ask everybody
okay.
on our show. So the last question that I ask every guest is, what would be your number one piece of advice, Victoria, for a brand new agency who is just starting out today?
Okay, two things. So first is deciding on that niche, right? So whatever your focus is going to be, committing to it. And that's way harder than it sounds. Because when we're starting business now, so there's kind of two steps to it. If you're starting an agency, chances are you've been working as a marketer. So you have a sense of the things that you like and you don't like, and the people you like to work with, the types of industries that interest you, right? So I'm answering this assuming that you've been in it for a while, probably as a freelancer or working in a company. um, Take your top skills and turn that into your focus. So make a decision. And sorry, the reason why it's so hard is that like when we're starting a business, we always are up against this like capturing all the opportunities to make money, right? But versus like quality, right? Getting those quality clients in. And it's really hard when you need to pay the bills. But as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you can start focusing more, I promise you're going to go faster. Because I've been stuck in this for many years. I'm like, I'll do anything for anyone, right? And
Yeah.
what that did was like, after 2, 3 years of doing that, at the end of it all, I'm like, hey, I haven't really built the momentum that I want because my client base and the things that I'm executing, it's disparate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, really focus because what the really cool thing is to do is like after people like us have been in business for like 10 plus years is that like at the end of that rainbow when you focus like you're going to be so confident because you're really going to know the areas that you know, like you're going to show
Yeah.
up like anyway. That really is a compound interest because you're learning, you're growing, and you just really do become an expert. And then the second thing is like in sort of shifting to that agency model, like really focus on the account management and the customer service, meaning you have to know your who's hiring you, your sales process, right? Who's the decision maker? How do you hire? You need to be having those conversations. So before you even hire someone like Tyler to scale your sales process, you'll probably be the first one to say, Tyler, like you need to understand like who you're dealing with, who you're talking to, what their needs are, all of that stuff. Like perhaps you can help people like understand that more. But it's
Yeah.
really hard to just kind of like totally give that away to someone else. Like you need to have that knowledge yourself. So meaning service those clients like at least a couple times to like know what it's like to work with them, hear their feedback, hear their pain points, all of that stuff, because that's going to become the basis of your communication strategy, your marketing strategy, your sales strategy. Knowing your clients, the people that hire you better than they know themselves, is the best use of your time. So
Yeah.
that could mean servicing clients. But if you're like, oh, how do I find clients when I don't even know where to start? That could also look like get into communities where your ideal client is. Listen to their conversations, listen to their pains, right? That could be joining online communities. But I would say, like, if you're just starting out, get physically into those events that they go to, those networking lunches, whatever. Just get in the room because those conversations are really, really, really beneficial.
I love it. So
Yeah.
niche down in who you're targeting, what you're providing, and get your hands in the clay.
Yeah.
Learn by doing, get
Yeah.
involved, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just being a go-getter. If you
Yeah.
want to get ahead, you have to get your hands dirty,
Yeah.
get and dive right in.
Yeah.
Victoria, this was a phenomenal
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
Like I said, I always know that when we have endless side tangents because the conversation is just that good. I could probably have you on another 3 times
No.
and we still wouldn't get through everything that we want to talk about in an hour, which is just amazing. So thank you again for joining us
Thank
today.
you, Tyler. This has been so much fun.